Good evening, welcome to Central News for Thursday, 24th of October. I'm Amy Forrest. In today's news, the increasing number of talented Bay of Plenty athletes performing on the world sporting stage is making selecting winners for this year's Bay of Plenty Polytechnic Sports Award a hard task. Award finalists announced yesterday were chosen by a 6-strong judging panel who worked through a high number of nominations, with each category hotly contested, says Sport Bay of Plenty CEO Wayne Werder. Wayne says the calibre of nominations and the variety of sports never fails to amaze, and it is fantastic what Bay of Plenty athletes, coaches, officials and administrators are achieving. The winners will be announced at the Gala Awards evening at ASB Arena on November 22nd. Thousands of visitors, riders and exhibitors from all around New Zealand attended Equidays over the weekend when Mystery Creek Events Centre became the heart of the horse industry to provide 3 exciting days of equine bliss. Equidays ran October 18th to the 20th and attracted over 12,000 visitors, with a talented cast of clinicians, presenters, night shows, representation from many core disciplines and 2 high-speed derbies. Visitors were able to watch some of New Zealand's top riders compete in 2 brand new high-profile events, the Hyundai Derby and the Honda Pony Derby. John Calder, CEO of Mystery Creek Events Centre, said the strong relationships that the event has formed with industry partners will continue to create new opportunities to work together and explore ways to develop Equidays in the future. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Friday holds rain easing to showers in the evening with a high of 19 and a low of 8. And much the same for you, Tauranga, with a gusty northwester, a high of 20 and a low of 10. Just ahead, eat well and live well. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Age Concern run many different events and educational courses for those 50 plus in the community. Previously, we caught up with Margaret Newcomb from Hamilton Age Concern to learn about their Eat Well, Live Well course. And now Harriet finds out about their loneliness campaign.
So tell us about this course that you've been running in Matamata, Eat Well, Live Well.
Eat Well, Live Well, that's exactly what it's about. It's about healthy eating, healthy action. The program is there to help seniors, and it is for seniors 65 plus. We've been running the course for over 5 years now, and it's a really good course for anybody that really wants to come along and find ways to re-motivate themselves to cook more healthy meals for them. We find that seniors are very, very aware of what their needs are, but they oftentimes say when they come in the course that they really want to just check out just how well they're doing and brush up on things that they may be a little bit worried about. So the course is about nutrition, nutritional skills, but it's also about action as well. Those two go hand in hand. You can't just eat healthy, you have to stay active as well. But we try to not use the word that starts with E, the exercise word. So what we do on the course, it runs for 4 weeks, and we're in a different rural town each month. We do a lot of cooking demonstrations, and people say that's one of the best parts of the courses is because our chef Joe Wells, she's a professional chef, everyone gets to actually sample and eat all the good food that we create. What else do we do? It's a particularly good course for particularly senior men. We're always looking for men to come along to the course, because it might be that the men, maybe it's the very first time they've actually had to think about cooking. Maybe their wives have done all the cooking, and it's for them, maybe they're caregiving for their wives, or it's the first time that they're actually cooking. And for chaps, they maybe have never actually created a shopping list and gone to the grocery store to find things and then gone home to cook a meal. So we're trying to give really quick and easy meals. All the meals take less than 15 minutes to cook up, 15 to 20 maybe, and have really basic ingredients that are really, really healthy for them. We also look at food labels because it's pretty challenging to find what is really, really in our food out there. So if you're cooking from scratch, that's usually not a problem. But because so many of our seniors have lost the motivation, all of us have lost the motivation to cook 5 to 7 meals a week, it's pretty tempting to just go out and buy packaged foods, and there's so much not good stuff in those packaged foods. So we look very intensely at trying to find a really easy way to read a food label, because they're not particularly easy stuff to understand. Yes. What else do we do on the course? I mentioned how important physical activity is. So we have Max Weinberg from Sport Waikato come along and talk about how your needs for physical activity change as you age. And we also talk about the wealth of physical activity and social activity that can be available out in the community for the seniors to become involved in. It really boils down to getting out, getting active, mixing with other people, because it's not only so much what you eat, it's really important for our seniors to look at what they're eating, but also to be staying connected in the community. And it's a good way for them to come out and meet new people in the community, or just reconnect with other people in the community and just have a really good time.
So why do you think that it's so important for those aged 50 plus to be well educated when it comes to making food choices and sort of knowing how their nutritional needs change?
Well, I think it's important for all people to be aware of what they're eating. For our seniors, it's more important because as we age, our nutritional needs, our bodies do begin to change. Some of the parts begin to wear out. As I mentioned, it's the younger people that really have lost that skill to actually cook from scratch, that don't really know how. Our seniors still have that, and they want to brush up on those skills. And maybe instead of cooking for 4 or 6 people, which they've done all their lives, they want to learn how to cook for smaller amounts. None of our recipes are cooking for one, because I mentioned how motivation is so important. If you're going to put the time and effort in to cook a meal, it's got to be for more than one meal or more than one person. So all of our recipes are for a minimum of 2. And our nutritional needs really do change, unfortunately, as we age. You've got to be more and more aware of not putting junk in the trunk. You've got to put really good high nutrients. So it's making sure that your vegetables are really, really fresh. But also, as we age, unfortunately, you might be surprised to know that more than 50% of our seniors might actually be at nutritional risk. And the reasons for that is simply they've lost the motivation to cook, because maybe they don't have family around anymore to cook for, or a partner to cook with, or they might have developed an illness or a condition, diabetes, heart conditions, and that actually, because your doctor says, here's your medications, that might actually force a change in your diet. Just being on 3 medications or more per day is actually a nutritional risk. Yes, because some of those medications have side effects. And with the conditions such as high blood pressure, it's really important to cut out the salt in your diet. So our recipes are talking about putting in simple things like using parsley, really good herbs and vegetables that are going to make it taste so much better than taking the salt shaker actually off of the table. And it's not rocket science, this is getting back down to basics. Another need that changes as we age, unfortunately, is that our stomach acids aren't quite as efficient as they used to be. And we need those good stomach acids to break down the food, to absorb. Particularly calcium is so important for us as we age, but the vitamin B12 that gives us energy, and all the other iron, zinc, all those sorts of things. Sometimes our medications actually block the absorption. So whatever you are putting into your body is really, really important to make sure it's high quality.
And where is your next Eat Well, Live Well course?
Right, the next course, we're going down the line to Te Araha, and it is in the month of November. It'll be at St. David's Church, so you can give us a ring at Age Concern 838-2266 if you're keen to enroll, because we'll fill fast.
If you would like to read more or find out more about other events and courses run by Age Concern, you will find all the information you need on their website, ageconcern.org.nz. Coming up next, a new book to look at home births in New Zealand. Welcome back. A local mother of 3 is about to release her first book about something that was normal in the 18th century but has now become rare, a home birth. Harriet spoke with Carla Sargent about why she is so passionate about having your baby at home.
So welcome to the studio, Carla. Now, can you tell us what made you so passionate about home birth?
I think initially it was hearing about my own birth story. So I was born in the mid-70s when home birth was really uncommon in New Zealand. And my parents did quite a remarkable thing in securing the support of a couple of Auckland home birth midwives to come down and attend my birth. But owing to the fact that there's no cell phones around in those days, my parents couldn't get in touch with the midwives when Mum went into labour with me. So I ended up needing to be born at Waikato Hospital. And it was our GP, our family GP, who attended my birth. And he agreed to sign a list of requirements that my parents had written out for my birth that went against the sort of mainstream way of doing things back in those days. Things like there was to be no routine episiotomy, my cord wasn't to be clamped and cut until it had finished pulsing. I wasn't to be taken out of my mother's arms unless there was a really good medical reason to do so, and that Mum could take me home as soon as she felt comfortable after birthing the placenta, and had me home within 2 hours of giving birth to me, which was unheard of back then. So I think that initially kind of inspired my enthusiasm around home birth, but then of course I became a midwife in my early 20s, and I got to see the sort of full range of different births that were taking place. So lots of hospital births, but then the odd home birth. And always the home birth stood out to me as the really magical sort of births. I'd come home from a home birth with a big grin on my face and a massive high. They were always just so special and touching and gentle and such a family affair. And I guess it's quite hard to explain without having been at a home birth yourself, just what a special and gentle and loving affair it is.
Yeah, well, you described it well. It sounds like a really beautiful kind of experience.
Yeah.
So what made you really want to put this book together about home birthing in New Zealand?
Well, we've had the medicalisation of childbirth has sort of had a firm grip on childbirth generally around the world, really, for a number of decades now. And it's meant there's been a shift in paradigm in the birthing paradigm and the way that people view birth and what their beliefs are around birth. So rather than birth being the normal, natural, healthy life event that it most certainly is, it's sort of deemed to be some sort of an illness of sorts, or certainly something that requires medical assistance in order to be a safe event in a lot of people's minds. Of course, those of us who know about home birth and who have researched and had experience with home birth know that home birth is a really safe option for well women who are being cared for by a midwife, and that it doesn't need to be this medical affair that it's kind of the media tends to portray it as being. Yeah.
And so do you think that home births are becoming more popular?
Oh, I'd love to say that they are. I've read recently the latest statistic on home birth in New Zealand is we have a 3.2% rate of home birth, which is pretty tiny. We are one of the we have the highest rate of home birth a much higher rate of home birth compared to a lot of developed countries in the world. But for instance, in the Netherlands, they have a rate of home birth of more like sort of 1 in 5 women giving birth at home. I don't think it's rising. It's hard to say. There's been really poor statistics kept on home birth in New Zealand, so it's hard to say, but 3.2 seems pretty small to me.
So what do you see are some of the main benefits of having a home birth as opposed to giving birth in a hospital?
Yeah, where to begin? There are many. I think when we think about how we feel about being in our homes, the sorts of words that come to mind are, relaxed and comfortable and warm and safe, secure, those sorts of things. And those are really feelings that you want to invoke in a woman when she is labouring. And when she feels safe and secure and well supported, then her body will produce hormones that will assist her labour and help her labour to go more smoothly. And she'll also produce those wonderful endorphins, those natural sort of opiates that we produce when the body's under a bit of stress, that help her to cope with the pain a lot better and help the process to feel less painful. So home really provides a good environment to have a smooth running labour and a more gentle labour. For a lot of women, going into a hospital environment where there's sort of bright lights and strangers and, you know, the sterile sort of smells and the sounds of other labouring women, all those things make for quite a stressful environment for women to labour in. And the external environment has such a powerful impact on the internal environment, on those hormones, so that if a woman feels really stressed, you know, when she comes into the hospital and there's strangers around, or, you know, even if they're not in the room with her, she knows there are people in the corridor sort of watching the clock and she's been pushing for 2 hours and something's going to have to happen soon, you know, and there's sort of policies and protocols that are kind of weighing on her mind perhaps. All those things that can mean that she produces a different set of hormones that may slow her labour down and can even stop the labour for a while. And what's more, when she's producing those hormones and when she's really stressed, less oxygen and nutrients and blood is going to the baby. So the baby's, you know, at higher risk of becoming distressed in that situation as well.
Carla Sargent's book, Where the Heart Is, Stories of Home Birth in New Zealand, will be released on Labour Day, and you can find out more about the book on the website birthright.co.nz. Just ahead, all things IT in New Zealand, all in Tauranga. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Over 250 delegates are in Tauranga over the next couple of days for the National Institute of IT Professionals NZ conference. So why did they choose Tauranga? Hilary found out.
Well, Tauranga is a really interesting place in that we look at New Zealand as a whole and what the tech sector is doing in New Zealand. The level of export growth has been growing quite dramatically in recent years, and when you drill into those numbers a little bit more, you find a lot of that growth is being driven out of Tauranga. There's a lot of tech companies in Tauranga that are generally keeping a pretty low profile, keeping to themselves, not going out there and making a big hoo-ha, but they're making it really big on the international stage. So we thought Tauranga was a great place to come along, bring some of the IT people from the rest of the country through, as well as support the local region and just see what's going on around the place.
Who are a must-see of the guest speakers?
Well, there's actually a lot. In fact, we've got over 50 speakers coming at the conference. From the keynote perspective, we've got people like Ed Robinson, who's over from the USA. He was a founder of Aptimize, which was a software company from a few years ago. Sold to a Silicon Valley company for about $30–40 million, and they've been based over in Silicon ever since. So he's coming back to talk about both how he developed that company and grew it, but also how he went through that transition to Silicon Valley and what lessons other Kiwi software companies can learn about how they do business in Silicon Valley and why they're so successful. We've also got people like Amy Adams, the IT Minister, who's coming in, giving a ministerial opening address, which we're very much looking forward to. Barry Vercoe, who is based or has spent most of his life in the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. He was one of the leading figures in digital audio processing internationally. So a lot of the audio that you listen to from a computer is using algorithms and things that he created, he and his team created. So he's really another example of somebody who, Kiwi, who's doing really big things on the world stage, pretty much keeping to himself. He hasn't got a big profile, but he's made a difference to the world. And there's a real line of those as well.
Why do you think Tauranga has attracted so many IT businesses?
I think there's a number of things really working in its favour. The first is the close proximity to the larger centres. So, you know, if you're working within New Zealand, so if your market is New Zealand, you need to be close to Auckland, and it is close enough to Auckland that you can get the lifestyle of Tauranga and the great, you know, benefits of Tauranga, but also get to your market quickly. The other thing is IT is something that can be done from anywhere. You know, it's not like traditional industries where you have to worry about how you get product to market. You know, IT, especially in the software sense, is something you create once and you can ship it at a massive scale all around the world. So why wouldn't you do it from Tauranga?
Tauranga has the highest proportion of angel investment funding in the country. What is angel investment funding?
Angel investment funding, or angel investors, are generally investors who are spending their own money. So they, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, come in at a relatively early stage of the process of a company, provide some funding at a very high risk point of the company's development, and sort of see it through. But the key difference between an angel investor and a VC funding, which is the other kind, is the angel investor is generally spending their own money. So sometimes makes quite different investment decisions than if it's a fund that a lot of people have paid into that they're then spending.
Why do you think that is?
I think in some respects it's because the great environment here. A lot of people come here when they've been successful in life. They come back here to not necessarily retire, but maybe to just take it a little bit easier for a little bit, enjoy the lifestyle, enjoy the good weather, and they're coming. They've done some good things. They've got some money, and they're looking around and saying, okay, what are we going to do next? As I say, the key differential about angel investors is they're usually spending their own money. So it's the high net worth individuals that are basing themselves here and are saying, okay, well, how can we support the next generation of companies coming through?
Now, what is being launched here at the conference is the one laptop per child. What is this new initiative?
Well, One Laptop per Child's been, internationally, it's been going for a number of years, and the concept behind it is to get devices, to get laptops in the hands of every child in the world. So both in terms of third world countries, African villages who don't even have electricity, getting devices into their hands so they can start to participate in the modern world, right the way through to first world countries like New Zealand, where we still have issues of how do we get devices into the hands of our kids. So One Laptop Child New Zealand is a charitable trust that's been established to work to paying for a number of devices and getting them into the hands of kids that wouldn't otherwise be able to get hold of that technology. The device itself is called the XO laptop, and it's an amazing piece of gear. It's very inexpensive, and it's very robust. It's designed specifically for kids' use, so all of the software, all of the operating system and everything has been designed for kids. They've got charging stations, so if it's used in a classroom, the kids can grab it themselves, almost like a briefcase, do their things, then pop it back on the charging station, and it's away. It's a really good device.
Why is it so important that every child has a laptop?
The world has changed. When people like myself and others were coming through school, it was pen and paper, and that's that was kind of the reasonable expectation of what the world was going to look like when you finished school and went out and into the rest of the world. The world has changed. These days, it's very hard to function successfully in modern times and on an equal footing with others if you don't understand technology, if you don't have access to the internet, if you can't communicate in the same way that everybody else can. So it's really important that not just those advantaged kids, not just those that come from families that can afford to have iPads and other devices, but actually all kids have the same opportunity to start out as others.
That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have any news, including your own video or photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. Hilary will be back tomorrow with more guests from in and around the region. I'm Amy Forrest. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.